Hello everyone, it's Old Guardian here. Just as it looked like Tony Druid was about to take over the ladder, Blizzard went for an emergency ban on the Jailer. So Jailer is currently not available, only temporarily though, so it's going to come back probably once Blizzard figures out what the next real balance patch is going to look like. However, that has had some effects on the meta, obviously killing Tony Druid, and well, there's already a new Druid deck, so we'll talk more about that in a little while. Other than that, the most interesting things probably are happening with Rogue at the moment, and there's a little bit of this and that going on, some evolution with some of the decks on the ladder. So let's take a look at the top 14 best decks on the ladder right now and how they have changed in the past week. So coming in at number 14 we have Control Warlock. Since the balance changes, Control Warlock and Control Warrior have been suffering. Both have remained playable though. And now Control Warlock, this list incorporates the 8 mana Lord Jaraxxus, so that with 10 mana you can play Lord Jaraxxus and Hero Power on the same turn. And it's not great. Yeah, Lord Jaraxxus, one of the weaker cards in this list. It might still be worth including, but Lord Jaraxxus, even at 8 mana in the current standard meta, yeah, it's just not doing miracles at all. Still, Control Warlock, if you really want to play with it, you can. It's above 50% win rate deck, so there. And coming in at number 13 we have Control Warrior, another old favorite that is now struggling a little bit but still remains playable. Unlike Control Warlock, Control Warrior has not had any changes to the list. There just doesn't seem to be anything that you can improve, or at least nothing has been found so far. There have been some attempts to add a Brawl back to the deck. There's for example a list that runs only 1 copy of Sanitize and 1 copy of Brawl, and Brawl's performance is actually not terrible right now, so maybe there's something that you can do with that. There are some lists that cut From the Depths now. From the Depths has always been kind of mid-performance card in the list. I'm not sure if it's really needed. On the other hand, From the Depths does synergize well with Yogg-Saron because it adds more spells to your deck, and more spells the better. But yeah, nothing definite has been found for Control Warrior recently, and this old list is still doing the best. At number 12 we have Totem Shaman. Totem Shaman has been one of the most durable decks in the meta, and it's still going, well, if not exactly strong, then it at least still remains playable, still above 50%, and still unchanged for many months. At number 11 we have Plague Death Knight. Plague Death Knight, we actually have seen some statistics now, we have seen some innovation. The Plague Death Knight list that runs 2 Unholy runes and 1 Blood rune seems to be the weaker one in the end. It was still uncertain 1 week ago, but now it seems that the triple Unholy is just the correct way to build Plague Death Knight, at least in this meta. The addition of 1 Blood rune gives you patchwork, and depending on the meta that patchwork can be really important, but right now it doesn't seem to be that vital. So it's better to run the Unholy build, but the Unholy build has got Grave Strength, one of the triple Unholy rune cards, and that seems to be an improvement. Yeah, you just don't have the minion quantity, the minion density to really use Grave Strength as effectively when you're also using Plagues, so you go triple Unholy so that you can get Lord Marrowgar. Because Lord Marrowgar does win games. If there's going to be a game that's going to last 9 turns, then Lord Marrowgar on turn 8, followed by winning on turn 9, is one way to win such games. And this deck now also incorporates Murlocular instead of Grave Strength, so that you can get a little bit of healing, and you can get some cheap minions on the board sometimes. So this seems to be the ideal way to build Plague Death Knight, but overall that doesn't really help Plague Death Knight. Plague Death Knight is still kind of a mediocre deck, but clearly above 50%, so it's playable and you can climb with it. And at number 10 we have Thaddius Warlock. Thaddius Warlock has not changed, it's still doing Thaddius things, and it has its upsides and its downsides. It has some good matchups but also multiple weaknesses, and it's kind of average in the meta. And at number 9 we have currently the strongest Death Knight deck in the game, which is just Unholy Death Knight. So the 2 strongest Death Knight decks are both triple Unholy, just one runs Plagues and the only triple Unholy card they run is Lord Marrowgar, and this one runs more minions, does not run Plagues, runs Grave Strength, and of course also Lord Marrowgar, and just swarms the board and wins games, and keeps doing it slightly more effectively than the Plague version. The 8th best deck in the game is the newly improved Rainbow Mage with the addition of Yogg-Saron Unleashed. Yogg-Saron just gave Mage that little bit of extra support that made Mage a contender in the meta again, but not quite enough to become absolutely top tier. But Rainbow Mage is starting to be one of these decks that it's pretty easy to climb the ladder with this one already. And at number 7 we have the heir to Tony Druid, which is Ramp Druid. So basically it's the exact same deck that Tony Druid was. You have the ramp cards, you have some armor, you have some attack power, you have Yogg-Saron, because Yogg-Saron is really what makes the deck, because it allows you to survive. But now the win condition is different. You no longer have the Tony Jailer win condition, so now you have Photographer of Fizzle, Ignis the Eternal Flame, and Ionar the Life Binder, so that you're able to put Snapshot. That includes stuff like Ignis or the Ignis weapon, potentially includes Yogg-Saron. So then you can have 2 copies of Ignis, 2 copies of Yogg-Saron, maybe 2 copies of Ionar, and that can just help you overwhelm the opponent in the end. Still a valid strategy, still a pretty strong strategy, not as strong as the Tony Jailer. It doesn't give you the same kind of inevitability in the end. But those Ignis weapons combined with ramp are just pretty good. Tengo's Ignis weapon coming out early together with a 0-cost Yogg, yeah, that's a swing that very few decks can recover from. At number 6 we have Undead Priest, same list as last week. The addition of Soulburn Varia has made Undead Priest clearly stronger. Undead Priest is one of the better aggro decks at the moment, and it's going pretty well right now. And at number 5 we have Enrage Warrior, the exact same list as last week. Some statistics are even placing Enrage Warrior as the number 1 deck in the entire format, and it does have a number of great matchups. However, it also has some weaknesses, and one notable weakness being the upcoming Secret Rogue, which makes Enrage Warrior slightly weaker. But yeah, if you want to play Warrior, Enrage Warrior is the best thing. But then again, we already knew that people didn't really enjoy playing Enrage Warrior nearly as much as Control Warrior. Like immediately when Control Warrior became viable, people just jumped into playing that, while Enrage Warrior numbers have been quite mediocre, even when the deck has been very, very powerful, like it is at the moment. And number 4 is Pure Paladin. This dude build of Pure Paladin still going strong. Last week I placed this as the number 1 deck, but now we have, after the balance patch, we have had a little bit more evolution, a little bit more refinement in the decks, and Pure Paladin doesn't find as many easy targets anymore. But what has impressed me is that it's still performing really, really well, and it's one of the easier decks to climb the ladder with. The 3rd best deck in the game is Drum Druid. Drum Druid currently incorporates Topior the Shrubgazer and Yogg-Saron Unleashed into the deck. Yogg-Saron is kind of a double-edged sword for Drum Druid. When you have Yogg-Saron yourself as Drum Druid, yay, that's great, you have a comeback mechanic. So even if you are not able to get your real board up yet, then you can just clear with Yogg and get your rear board later. But when you're facing Yogg, then you build your board, and that's supposed to win you the game, and then Yogg comes in and actually kills that, and then you have to build another board. And that's why Topior is good right now, because Topior allows you to build more boards. Topior used to see play Drum Druid a lot back when Control Warrior was the main opponent, because you really needed those multiple boards against Control Warrior. Now you need those multiple boards against Yogg-Saron. So Topior it is again, and Drum Druid doing actually quite well. But the 2nd best deck is probably the most interesting one, because this is Secret Rogue. Let's talk about Rogue. Rogue currently has 4 playable decks. Mech Rogue is no longer part of this list. Mech Rogue's performance has been going down. Mech Rogue still has its upsides, but one of the downsides is that it actually loses to the other Rogue archetypes like Secret Rogue. But Rogue still has Mech Rogue. Then Rogue has Miracle Rogue, which it's almost like Secret Rogue, except that Secret Rogue is better. Miracle Rogue doesn't run the secret package, it runs the concoctions, it runs the Yogg-Saron package, and it runs Sinstone Graveyard. So you try to make stuff from Sinstone Graveyard, but Secret Rogue with the secret package, with the tempo tools like Ghastly Gravedigger, like Private Eye, Secret Rogue is just the superior one in performance, so Miracle Rogue is kind of obsolete, even though you can also climb the ladder with that. And then there's also a Weapon Rogue around. A Weapon Rogue that doesn't actually run any weapons, but buffs the dagger, and then it has Yogg-Saron alongside that, which also seems to be playable. But the other Rogue decks, yeah, they're about 50%. Yes, but only slightly, so I didn't include them in this list. I went for the best one, which is the Secret Rogue. So the deck has concoctions, it has secrets, and it has all the associated tempo tools with those secrets, and it has Yogg-Saron, and it has Astalor, and it has Shadow Steps, and all sorts of nice stuff like that. So this is really an archetypal tempo deck. Tempo decks haven't really existed often in Hearthstone. It's mainly Rogue that has been a tempo deck class. Because what does really a tempo deck do? A tempo deck typically has some threats, and then it denies the opponent from doing stuff so that those threats are enough to win the game, even though the threats themselves don't look like they're that much. Something like Mono Blue in Magic is classic tempo deck. You can just deny opponent from doing stuff, and then, hey, you have those couple of pretty small threats, but they just keep chipping in and the opponent can't properly answer them, even though they shouldn't be doing all that stuff, and then you just win. And this kind of Secret Rogue deck really has some of those tempo elements as well. You have lots of clears with Prison Breakers, with Yogg-Saron. You have lots of disruption with the Gravedigger, with Okani, with the secrets. And then you have those concoctions, which can also give you excellent tempo. And yeah, the most interesting deck to have appeared in the scene in the last week, and it's doing really, really well. But not as well as the best deck in the game, which is Arcane Hunter. And there's two varieties of Arcane Hunter that you can see on the ladder right now. One of them runs secrets, and the other one doesn't. This is wULing's list, actually. No secrets here, just Arcane and Face, and it's on Face. Because with the appearance of Yogg-Saron Unleashed, Yogg-Saron has been okay in Arcane Hunter, and it's better the more spells you have. So you really, really want to run Bunch of Bananas and Barrel of Monkeys, because both of those are 3 spells in one. There are secret lists that include Bunch of Bananas and Barrel of Monkeys as well, but they are not as good of a fit into a secret list as they are into just a more aggressive, more face-oriented list like this one. So this is currently the best Arcane Hunter deck in the game, and it's also the best deck in the game, period. Just a wonderful, wonderful strong deck. Making use of the Arcane synergies and then power of Yogg-Saron. If something goes wrong, then Yogg-Saron can come in and fix all of that. So yeah, there are some really interesting and strong decks at the moment on the ladder. Arcane Hunter has seen quite an evolution over the past week. Secret Rogue has appeared on the scene, so yeah, interesting meta developments, changes, new stuff that you can try and play and win and climb the ladder. Thank you for watching. Click like and subscribe if you enjoyed this, and a special thanks to all of my Patreon supporters, YouTube members and Twitch subscribers who make all of these videos possible.